I used to think that silence meant things were steady, that when arguments stopped, peace had settled back in. But I learned the hard way that silence can hide things too, that sometimes it means there's something being kept from you. My name's Daniel. I'm 38, working as an operations manager for a logistics company in Chicago. I'd been married to Olivia for 9 years. She worked in marketing, a fast-paced world of late dinners, business trips, and what she liked to call networking. At first, I admired her drive. She was magnetic, the kind of person who seemed to command attention without trying. Smart, confident, composed. Everyone liked her, and I couldn't blame them, I did too. But over time, it felt like her world kept expanding while mine stayed exactly the same. Her work hours stretched longer, and her phone seemed permanently attached to her hand, always placed face down when I walked in. Back then, I didn't think too much of it. Trust is strange that way. You don't realize how much you've given away until it's already gone. The first real sign that something was off came about 6 months ago. Olivia came home late one night smelling faintly of cologne I didn't recognize. When I asked, she laughed and said her coworker Evan had hugged her goodbye after a long day at a product launch. "He's harmless," she told me. And I wanted to believe her. So I did. That's what love does. It makes you blind in ways you don't see until it's too late. Still, something shifted in me after that. I started noticing the details, the small changes. She'd head straight for the shower the moment she got home. Her phone had a new text tone, softer, more discreet. She wore more makeup on weekends, even when we weren't going anywhere. I didn't confront her. I just watched. Waiting isn't the same as patience. Sometimes it's just pain disguised as control. Then came the gala. Olivia had been preparing for it for weeks. New dress, fresh haircut, perfectly manicured nails in a color she said matched her company's branding. "It's an important night," she told me. "The CEO will be there." I smiled, pretending it didn't sting that her best was for them, not for us. The event was held in one of those elegant hotel ballrooms, gold-trimmed ceilings, soft music, and champagne flowing like water. Olivia introduced me to colleagues and clients, and to Evan, her so-called work partner. He was charming in a way that felt practiced, too sure of himself. When he shook my hand, he held it just a little too long. I caught the way his eyes lingered on Olivia, and the way she didn't quite meet mine. Dinner went by in a haze of speeches and laughter. Later, while I stood near the bar, I overheard Evan in a small group nearby, his voice loud and careless from too many drinks. I wasn't eavesdropping, but I didn't have to strain to hear him. "Olivia's presentation wasn't the only thing we nailed that night in Boston," he said, laughing, glass raised. The group laughed with him, not everyone catching the meaning, but I did. The sound hit me like a physical blow. My stomach dropped, and for a moment it felt like gravity let go. I turned toward him, but he was already onto another story, oblivious to what he'd just revealed. I looked across the room and found Olivia's eyes. She'd heard him too. Her smile faltered, and I saw her wine glass tremble slightly in her hand. For a heartbeat, our eyes locked, hers filled with panic, guilt, maybe even shame. I didn't explode. Didn't shout. I simply set my drink on the bar and walked out, leaving behind the laughter, the music, and everything that used to feel like home. I sat in my car for a long time, hands gripping the steering wheel, engine off. My heart wasn't racing. It was calm, too calm. That eerie stillness that comes when something inside you breaks cleanly, without noise. I didn't drive home. Instead, I went to the lake, watching the city lights shimmer over the water. It was almost poetic. The woman who once said I was her peace had turned my silence into heartbreak. She called that night, 11 times. The last one came at 2:17 a.m. I watched the screen glow with her name, then fade back to black. Each missed call felt like an unspoken confession. By morning, I finally went home. The house smelled like her, perfume and lavender detergent, an awful mix of comfort and betrayal. She was in the kitchen, still wearing the same dress from the gala, makeup smeared, eyes red from crying. "Daniel, please," she said quietly. "It's not what you think." I remember those words perfectly, not because they were heartfelt, but because they sounded rehearsed. Automatic. I didn't answer. I just poured myself a cup of coffee and let the silence finish the conversation for me. The kettle's whistle filled the silence, a sharp sound standing in for the words neither of us wanted to say. She stepped closer, voice trembling. It happened once, she confessed, as if shrinking the truth could make it hurt less. We were traveling. I drank too much. And he bragged about it in front of your colleagues. I cut in, keeping my tone even. That doesn't sound like an accident, Olivia. That sounds like a choice. Her expression twisted, half shame, half fury. You don't understand what it's been like, she said. You're always so far away. You barely notice me anymore. It's strange how the guilty can so easily cast themselves as the wounded. I wanted to shout, to break something, to make the room echo with the same pain tearing through me. But I didn't. I just said, quietly, you mean the distance that started after you built a whole other life at work? She went silent, eyes down, lip caught between her teeth. That small, helpless gesture told me everything. She wasn't sorry it happened, she was only sorry I knew. I left the kitchen without another word. Packed a few clothes, my laptop, my toothbrush. She followed me down the hall, crying, pleading, promising it would never happen again. Her words bounced uselessly off the walls. I'd heard them all before, only never spoken aloud. At the door, she grabbed my arm. So that's it? You're just leaving. I turned to her. Calm now. No, Olivia. I'm not leaving. You left first. I'm just catching up. Her hand dropped. She didn't stop me again. For the next few weeks, I stayed in a short-term rental downtown. Clean, quiet, impersonal, but peaceful. I threw myself into work, trying to build a rhythm that didn't depend on pretending. Still, some nights, thoughts of her crept in. Love, I realized, doesn't die neatly. It fades, bleeding out through old memories until there's nothing left to ache over. About a month later, I ran into one of her co-workers at a coffee shop. She looked uneasy, unsure if she should even speak. Finally, she said, I'm sorry about everything. You didn't deserve that. Everyone heard Evan bragging, but no one believed him, until that night. I just nodded. I didn't need pity. Her words only confirmed what I already knew. The moment Olivia let someone else carry her secret, it stopped being hers. That night, I sent her a short message. No bitterness, no poetry, only truth. I wish you peace, Olivia. I just can't give you any more of mine. She never replied. A few months later, I heard she'd left the company, Evan too. Something about HR and the gala. Maybe that was justice, or maybe just consequence. Either way, it wasn't mine to bear anymore. Life didn't suddenly bloom into something beautiful after that. There was no grand closure, no cinematic redemption, just quiet. Real quiet this time. The kind that doesn't hide betrayal inside it. Sometimes, when I walk by the lake, I still think of that night. How betrayal doesn't always arrive in screams or tears. Sometimes it shows up smiling, glass raised in a toast, pretending to celebrate you. But I lived through it. That's the part no one really talks about. The surviving. The moment you stop trying to make sense of someone's destruction and start building something honest from the ruins they left behind. Because peace, I've come to understand, isn't silence. It's choosing not to listen to lies anymore.